find a button that says react on this. There we go. I found one. Haha. Hope everyone is doing well. This is a feature of Mosaic, which I am excited to see Simon's solve of. I should say, if I seem a bit sedate today, it's because I'm at the end of week 3 of my 5-day-a-week, many hour per day Sudoku class, which I'm quite enjoying, and I have been actually doing some of the students' puzzles as part of the Invitation to Puzzles series, which has gotten a lot of nice comments. So if you want to do some, somehow it happened that all the ones who said a Kropke puzzle ended up in a row. But if you want to go watch some of those, and there'll be more forthcoming. Today I solved the first student-generated 10-line puzzle I believe I've ever solved. It was a mean mini. As well as several other things. So if you can look forward to more along that, but I am very happy for the weekend. So let's see Simon solve Mosaic and read some birthdays in some order. May not be that order.
Hello and welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where we're going to have a look at a puzzle by Zetamath and
I'm
friends
really happy
called
with how this
Mosaic.
grid looks.
We just had a recommendation actually from Zetamath to take a look at this one. I think it was yesterday evening, so I am very happy to do so. And Zetamath's puzzles are just a joy to me. I don't know how many I've done over the years. Actually, that's a good question. I should have checked. I'm going to guess it might be like 40 or something over the years.
I think it's more than 40,
and
and less than 50,
delightful.
but I don't know.
They normally have a Z in them, which there's no Z in this.
It is true. There's no Z.
I don't think there is. I'm trying to see the white spaces, whether there's a Z in the white spaces. I don't think so. But anyway, this is 3 stars.
Glad David is enjoying the Root Trees Are Dead, which is just a fantastic and fun puzzle game that's maybe slightly, like, I don't know, a few degrees off of the logic puzzle kind of game, but it's a lot of fun. I really like it. It is in stiff competition for my favorite game I've done as a Let's Play on the channel.
Apparently it's lovely. And I quite like Zeta's new colorblind friendly labeling of lines. You can see it's really good, isn't it? So you know immediately that's a 10 line. This must be a parity line, I think. Anyway, we'll read the rules together in a moment or two's time, and then we'll have a go at trying to crack the puzzle.
I liked my desire
or
my ability this time to put the labels symmetrically deposed around the grid. I've not done that before, I don't think, but I don't think I've previously had a puzzle where I labeled the lines where that would have been a particularly nice thing to do. But here it worked out nicely. I feel like the label thing, I feel like every time Simon does one of my puzzles that has that, Simon comments about it being like a new thing, and I think I've probably been doing it for like 1.5 years now.
Oh, let me look at my... Oh, yes, I've got... This is going to be by far the best part of my day. I had a call with Mark earlier, and we were sort of going through our list of things that we needed to do in and around the channel. He said, oh, you've done your tax return, haven't you? It's like, oh, no... 31st of January, I have to do it by. I always leave it to the last minute. I often then forget, which tell me, do not do that. And so anyway, that is going to have to be what I do for the rest of the day after I solve this puzzle. So this is by far, I mean, solving puzzles is normally the best part of my day, but this definitely today will be the best part of my day. Anyway, what else? It's Thursday, so tomorrow there should be a crossword video. So if you do enjoy our cryptic crossword content, look out for that. I think I'm on duty to have a look at the times tomorrow. Oh, I know what I'll recommend. Yes. Oh, actually, there's a couple of things I'll recommend. This has been a pretty extraordinary week of puzzles, in fact. So definitely, if you haven't had a look, Killer Friends
this was
by
amazing.
Yornis. I think I did that
puzzle
on Tuesday. That is a fantastic puzzle. Purple Lines by Wiggle. I think I did that on Monday. That is a very, very good puzzle. No spoilers. And then yesterday, I did battle, and this took me a long time, with the latest Rat Run puzzle by Marty Sears.
I have not
Copy
gotten
that.
to
This
this
is a
rat run
brilliant
puzzle
puzzle
yet,
as
but I
well.
will
So definitely,
assuredly.
this week has been absolutely stellar. I'm sure it'll continue today, but do have a look at those puzzles too. And I'm going to mention something I very rarely mention on the channel, which is our apps. Now, we have a whole suite of apps, but one of the things we've been doing recently are these Sudoku worms, which are brilliant because they allow us to showcase a particular setter's puzzles. So you can see there's Marty Sears there, Michael Lefkowitz, you might know Michael as Juggler, Fistamafel, James Sinclair. Well, I can tell you that very soon we're going to have a Zeta worm being released. So Zeta, I think Zetamath and Blobs are coming out, I'm hoping, in days rather than weeks. So if you do enjoy our app content, do have a look at those. Very, very good puzzles. You can see an example of a Fistamafel puzzle there. Yeah, and that's it's available on all the usual ways that you can get apps.
Are
I'm not
they
very good at
expensive?
labeling those ways, but you know what I mean.
Are they
I
like?
should
I
be
thought they
much
were
more
like 99 cents or
technologically
something.
able, shouldn't I? Given what I supposedly do for a living. Anyway, anything else? And I've got no birthdays to do today. It's most bizarre. I've got a whole load of birthdays to do tomorrow, but no birthdays to do today. So
Yeah,
we will not be able to wish anybody happy birthday.
I made mine a long while ago, and there were some various technical issues because I did some Zeta-ish thing with it, and they're getting around to it now. But actually, a few days ago, I got an email from Mark that said, here's my list of hints, but there's a couple steps where I think you probably intended something different. And then I had to go back and resolve the puzzle and figure out what on earth I intended. And I will say, uh, the like very last deduction of the puzzle, it took me quite a while to remember the thing that I had intended, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of nice," but ooh, that's mean. There's definitely an escalating difficulty through mine.
If it is your birthday and you were expecting birthday wishes from me, then happy birthday. I'm very sorry, and I hope you have, of course, a heavily iced chocolate cake. I think that's everything. I think we should move swiftly on. Let's have a look at the rules of Mosaic by Zetamath and friends. The rules are as follows. We have got normal Sudoku rules apply, so we're going to have to put the digits 1 to 9 once.
The labeling of the digits, I think, is what Andrew's asking about. It's not built into the software. It's just something I just add. And I figured out, I think this time, how to add it in a nicer way.
Each and every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. GW. Adjacent digits along a GW line must differ by at least 5. So GW stands for German whispers. If you're new to the channel, you might wonder why they're called GW lines. So if this cell was a 1, this would have to be at least 6 in order to be sufficiently different from the digit 1 to be 5 different from it at least. So it could be 6, 7, 8, or 9. ENT. Any set of 3 adjacent cells along an ENT line must contain a low digit, a 1, 2, or a 3, a middle digit, a 4, 5, or a 6, and a high digit, a 7, 8, or a 9. So imagine that was a 7, 8, or a 9 digit. Then you would know immediately that one of these 2 adjacent digits, because in every set of 3 there has to be a low and a middly. One of these.
Fortunately,
would be
it wasn't
low,
very
one of
long
these
ago,
would be
was it,
middly.
Ron? I think it was last Sunday.
Actually, you would also know, and I hope this doesn't count as solving, you would also know that had to be a 7, 8, or a 9. I'll leave you to think about why that might be the case, in case you don't immediately know. Now, black dot. Cells separated by a black dot are in a 1:2 ratio, i.e. one will be double the other. Not all dots are necessarily given. So imagine this was a 2. This digit here would either be 4 because 4 is double 2, or it could be 1 because 2 is double 1. So you just have to maintain that doubling relationship across a black dot. Now, what does the business mean about not all dots are necessarily given? It means it's perfectly possible for those 2 cells to be in a ratio of 1:2, i.e. the 4 is obviously double the 2.
Quite
so
likely.
there could have been a black dot between those 2 cells, but there isn't. It doesn't matter that there isn't. We're not being told anything about any domino that doesn't have a black dot. We're just being told that those two
The
definitely
Logic
are
Master's
in
Germany
a
page has a link
1
to
to
the
2 ratio,
settings
so it's
stream.
perfectly possible for other
And I
1 to
assume
2
there's a link
ratios
to
to
the Logic
exist in the
Master's
puzzle.
Germany page
Just because
in the
there is no black
CTC
dot
page,
does
which
not
is
mean
linked
we can
to.
assume that the cells are
So
not
some sort of
in a
giant
1 to
link
2 ratio.
Ouroboros will get
White
you
dot.
there.
I can't even. Oh, there. I couldn't see one.
It's actually kind of funny. David mentions the like classic zeta of having one white dot and one black dot. And in this case, actually, the white dot and the black dot actually show up way earlier in the solve than you might
by a white
guess.
dot are consecutive. Not all dots are necessarily given. Okay, so if this cell was a 2, this would either be a 1 or a 3 to be consecutive with 2. And the same rule applies. It's perfectly possible for those two cells to be consecutive. Just because there's no white dot, we don't care. 10 lines. Okay, so that's going to be that line, I think. The Stonehenge line is a 10 line. So digits along grey lines must be broken into one or more contiguous groups of cells that add to 10. Such groups cannot overlap. Digits may repeat within such sums if allowed by other rules. For example, 513173 is a valid fill for a length 6 line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, hang on, that's not length 6, that's length 7. Oh, bobbins. All right, let's draw our own. Okay, and this has got a repeat on it as well. Let me just think about how I'm going to do this. I don't know if that's going to work, actually. I'm trying to make sure the ones are far enough apart. Is that going to work? It might not. But the line that we're intended to draw is 5, 1, 3. No, it's not right, is it? Okay, I'll make it go diagonally. That might fix things. 5, 1, 3, 1, 7, 3. Okay. Now this is apparently a valid 10
In one
line.
of my classes, you mean, curling?
Oh yeah, okay, that's quite a complicated 10 line because it can be broken up. These two cells, obviously 7 and 3 add up to 10, but 1, 3, 1,
yes,
5
I always use the
also
same
sum to 10,
10
don't
line
So
example and wording, because for the longest time, every time I wrote down the rules for 10 lines, there was a like people would have various things that they did not understand about it. Every clue is a disambiguator clue. Just some disambiguate earlier than others. No, not you, box 7 Nabner. Poor box 7 Nabner.
We could split this length 6 line into 2 segments, each of which sum to 10. And just because there's a repeated digit on one of the segments, that's absolutely fine, providing you don't break the normal Sudoku rules. Let's see if I can delete everything.
I think it wouldn't actually have looked that bad without the links, without the box 7
Nabner. That's going to be a
Nabner.
Dutch whisper line. That's this one at least. Adjacent digits along a Dutch whispers line must differ by at least 4. So it's a slightly less stringent constraint than the GW line.
And not chocolate
so if this
pie?
was a 1, this could be a 5. Just has to be at least 4 different. So it could be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. PAR, digits along a parity line alternate odd and even. So if this was odd, this would be even, this would be odd, this would be even, etc. And NAB must be a NABNA. No two digits along a NABNA line can be consecutive regardless of their position on the line. Okay, so I see they're in the same box. Often on a NABNA line, there is an explicit condition as well that digits can't repeat along a NABNA line, but that's not necessary here because you obviously...
I'm a college professor by occupation, so people become students in it by just taking the class that I offer on it as a sort of... I don't know, side gig isn't really the word. It's like part of my main teaching thing. But this year I've actually taught 2 sections of the Sudoku classes. Proven quite popular. It always fills up right away.
Couldn't repeat a digit on this line because it's entirely within box 9. And normal Sudoku rules cater for that. But imagine this was a 2. That would mean neither of these cells could be 1 nor 3. Because obviously 1 and 3 are consecutive with 2. So they couldn't appear on the line. And let me just double check. I think that is all the rules. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play Let's get cracking. I mean, this is going to be...
I did have a student make up palindromes, except instead of opposite sides being the same, opposite sides add to 10, which was very similar to a tentropy line in practice, but was very nice, and I liked it.
Be a solve replete with secrets, isn't it? Although, I mean, I say that, I actually don't know many secrets about... I know secrets about German whispers. I know sort of secrets about Dutch whispers. And sort of secrets about entropy, but they're not very good secrets. I think the place where I know the best secrets are the German whispers lines, and I can see that's going to give me a so-called X-wing on fives. So let's think about that immediately. Right, so let's... Focusing on any German whispers line, the first thing to note...
That's a good question,
is that
I
you
guess
can't put
so.
5 on it. Why? Well, if you do put 5 on it anywhere, the point is that the next digit, the adjacent digit on the line, has to be at least 5 different from 5, and there is no Sudoku digit that meets that criteria. If you go up, you get to 10, 11, 12. You can't put those in Sudoku. If you go down, you get to 0 or lower, and you can't put those in Sudoku. So no 5s on the line. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that every single digit you put on a German whispers line either has the quality of being below 5 or above 5. And you may say, well, that's obvious. And it is obvious. I totally agree. But the point that you have to, or it's often helpful to realise, is that you can't put 2 of the same type of digit next to one another. So if this was a higher than 5 digit, this couldn't also be a higher than 5 digit, because these can't be made to be 5 apart. The furthest they could be apart is 3 if they were 6 and 9, and 3 is not as big as 5. So what happens along these whispers lines is they oscillate. And that's often important.
It will be important.
I will actually, just because this is so long, I will also mention 4 and 6. 4 and 6 are quite difficult to put on German, certainly on straight German whispers lines, because if you do try and put a 4 on it, you can never put it in the middle of a line if the 2 cells on either side of the 4 are in the same Sudoku unit, so in the same row, column or box. Why? Because 4 only has one partner. We said 5 had no partners at all, so 5 just can't go on the line. Now 4 can go on the line, but only if it's next to 9. 9 is the only Sudoku digit that's sufficiently different from 4. And so if I did put the 4 here, I'd have to put 2 9s in the column, and obviously I can't do that from a Sudoku perspective. Now the other digit that has that quality is 6. 6 only has one partner, and that's the digit 1. So we're going to have to be careful in this column with 4s and 6s, although obviously we could have 4 and 6 off the line. Right. Well, okay, so let's just do 5s. Let's think about 5s first, because...
So the origin of this puzzle, I should say, is that at some point during the course, a student asked what an X-wing was. And I just drew this example with these 2 German whisper lines on the side as an example of an X-wing on 5s, as I'm guessing Simon is about to explain. And then that was like a few months ago, and then I kept like percolating in my brain of like, I bet you could make a puzzle with that, but I can't figure out like what to do with the X-wing on 5s that's actually useful, because like it doesn't seem super useful to then put a Renbon where there can't be 5s. Like it turns out most clues don't really want to have 5s on them anyway. And so that turned out it's funny. I swear the only moment I understood what an M-wing was when Clover explained it to me. But then I also swear at a later time Clover said that she didn't know what an M-wing was. Or maybe that was a W-wing. I don't know. I guess a W-wing's probably just an M-wing upside down or something. Who knows? I mean, admittedly... Oh, I'm leaning away from the mic. When I was like not really sure how I should think about what a skyscraper was, not the constraint, but the like classic Sudoku technique. I just set a puzzle. I set a puzzle with a skyscraper in it and hoped that Simon would solve it and tell me how to think about a skyscraper. And that happened, and it actually worked very well. And now I think of skyscrapers basically the way that that we do. The Simon explained it. Uh, this method may not work for everyone. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know most of the like weird classic techniques. Uh, every time I sort of come across a classic technique that I think is kind of cool, I tend to set a puzzle that sort of revolves around it. So I have like a skyscraper one. I have a swordfish one. I didn't have. It's not that I've never put an X-wing in a puzzle, but funnily enough, Jay Dyer, I've tried to do that before, but I haven't made it far enough in the process of understanding what an exoset is to put one in a puzzle. Uh, but uh, I did at least appreciate that at some point Clover pointed out to me that like any sandwich puzzle almost has an otagon in it, because whenever you sort of deduce that any digit that sees both 1 and 9 can't be, or sees both the yellow crust and the blue crust or whatever can't be a crust, that's really an otagon deduction. That was like one of the biggest brain things that anyone has ever said to me that has sort of stuck with me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
finned
in
jellyfish,
column 1,
excellent.
we know the 5 is in one of those two cells, don't we?
Yeah, this comes up. So how does a student end up asking about what an X-wing is? The way a student ends up asking what an X-wing is always because they're setting something in Sudoku Maker, and Sudoku Maker tells them the correct logical step is a finned X-wing, and so they always ask, "What's a finned X-wing?" To which I then have to draw what an X-wing is first, and then once I've drawn what the X-wing is, then explain what it means for it to be finned. Uh, and then tell them
And
that
in
they should not
column
put that
9,
step in their
we know
puzzle.
the 5 is in one of these two cells. Now that is a classic X-wing. What's an X-wing? Well, it means that the disposition of 5s in the finished grid is either going to be with a 5 on that diagonal, because if I put a 5 here, I obviously can't put the 5 here in column 9, so I'm going to have to put it there. So the 5s are either going to be in those two positions, or they're going to be in those two positions. And therefore, oh, Maverick's about to fly over. You can sort of see that as either on that wing of an X, or that, oh, terrible, 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 losing my army, or that limb of an X, and that's why it's called an X-wing. Because the two digits that we're talking about will appear on one.
You don't want to have to learn what a
diagonal of an
finned
X.
anything is.
Sorry, there's a bit of an aeroplane noise as Maverick flies past my window. Hello, Maverick. Now, what does an X-wing mean? Well, what it means is, although it was a restriction that originally arose from the columns, i.e. we said that 5 was restricted in the columns, it has an effect on the rows. So these digits here, we can now say with certainty none of these green shaded cells can contain a 5. And I hope
with apologies to our channel's tradition of always putting making 5s green. Now we're using green to indicate cells that can't be 5. That is a kind of moment.
that's obvious, but one way to think about that, if you're not sure about why that seems to be the case, and this is a general point for X-wings, it's very, very clear when we've got X sort of this going on in the four corners of the grid, but X-wings can arise in, we could have X-wings in that position, and then it would still have the effect on those 3 cells and these as well. The point is to think about.
I found that not even acknowledging that classic Sudoku exists is actually like the best technique to getting students to set better puzzles. I do highly recommend, if you want to set a puzzle with an X-wing, to make the X-wing go through the 4 corners so that it's loudly telegraphed that you should think about it, because like it's something where you can do it in variants, and there are other ways to do it in variants. And so but it's often very difficult to make it sort of to telegraph that you want someone to think about a classic Sudoku technique in a variant. So these sorts of things.
How many fives you're expecting there to be in row 1? Now it's a Sudoku. So there's going to be 1 5 altogether in row 1.
So the history of the 5 thing is that I used to like complain that 5s were basically a boring digit, and I at one point had a challenge for everyone to set a puzzle without a 5. That was, I think, the first setting challenge on the channel, if I'm not mistaken. But then some members of chat were particularly unhappy about the mistreatment of 5s, and so 5s and I made up, and I now do in fact do the 5 dance for 5 when it's the first digit in the grid, and they even get their color, but they get their own special color of green. And Casey is the one who originally asked for 5s to be specifically green, so they've always been specifically green to me for Casey. I had a student set a puzzle that involved odds and evens, but their odd clues were blue and their even clues were orange, and it hurt my brain so much. Like, it wasn't like, it's not like there's any intentional association of those two. Just like in my head, they've just become so synergistic.
There's going to be 1 5 altogether in row 9. So that's 2.
I should do a new setting challenge. It's a good idea.
We've just agreed contain 2 5s. Did I say 5s? I hope I said 5s, not 1s. But anyway, I meant to say there's going to be one 5 in that row, 1 5 in that row. So that's 2 5s altogether. But we've just said that these turquoise, actually, how should we describe them?
That's interesting.
These dark blue cells,
it makes a lot of sense.
Blue shaded cells contain 2 5s. Definitely. So we can't put any more.
I have definitely noticed that as I watch students solve puzzles and help them. My advice for almost every puzzle is you could use coloring, which might be sort of my natural inclination, just sort of bleeding out into the world.
5s than those that belong to the dark blue squares in rows 1 and 9. If we did, there would be at least 3 5s in 2 rows, and we will break Sudoku. So that's a very, 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 very long-winded way of hang on, no, I want to leave that in, I think. I'll get rid of the green. What it means is that these entropic lines, neither of those contain
they shall catch up and they
5.
shall like it. Yeah, I generally use condiments for keeping track of specific digits and colors for keeping track of sets of digits. Like crusts in a sandwich puzzle, I will color, or even odd or whatever. And then like if I have this specific digit, I know it goes somewhere, then I will condiment it, because there isn't a I can't use like emojis to label them in Sudoku Pad yet.
Which is of no use nor ornament.
Too many lines.
Okay, sorry.
No, Clover just says my puzzles have too many lines. Which, fair enough.
Is it? So it's 4s and 6s as
well.
My
puzzles tend to have a lot of lines.
We have to do. Let me just think about this. Yeah, okay. It is, isn't it? Yeah, we are going to have to go a bit further than I've gone here. So I've talked about 5s. I talked a bit about 4s and 6s being difficult on green lines, but actually, let's do oscillation first, because along this green line, what we said was, whatever the polarity of this is, this cell here, vis-a-vis 5, it's either above 5 or below 5, and then every other cell along that line will have that property. So those 4 digits there
I was
are
just thinking
either
too many
a
lines would be a
set of the
great name
digits
for a
1, 2,
puzzle.
3, and 4, or they're a set of the digits 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I don't know what they are. But the corollary of that is that these 3 cells are going to be of the opposite polarity. But crucially, these 3 purple cells, none of those can be 4 or 6, can they? It's impossible. So if the red digits were, let's say they were 1, 2, 3, 4, these digits would be high polarity by oscillation.
It's sort of funny, like looking at this, and so like when I did this on stream as a setting challenge, sort of, or as a sort, when we set this together, I sort of came with the 2 whispers on the side, the 10 line, the 2 dots, and the 2 entropic lines. So in some sense, we spent the whole setting stream, which was like over 2 hours, to add 2 clues to the grid. 2.5 if you count the Nabner. But I mean, we went through so many different things and like getting this to look this good. But it's sort of like there's a lot of finesse to just getting this. I even had the idea of this being a length, or having a length 2 German or Dutch whisper here. Yes, Simon could have picked more different colors than this dark blue, this purplish red, and this reddish purple. I would agree that Simon could have chosen more distinct colors if that were a desired trait of the colors.
But none could be 6 because a 6 would be surrounded by 2 1s. And that would mean that
We will now color whispers in yellow and imposter yellow, alternating around for clarity.
in this column, the digits 5 and 6 would be in these cells. Now, the opposite situation works exactly the same way. I.e., if instead red is high, these digits have to be low, but they can't be 4 because 4 would be surrounded on both sides by double 9. So these digits now are 4 and 5. Now what that means is that the corners are actually therefore from 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I really like that, David.
On the entropic lines. This is very clever, actually. Now I'm going to have to share the secrets of entropic lines. This isn't a very good secret, and I almost did it when we were doing the instructions. But the point is that this digit here, whatever its flavour is regarding entropy, it's either a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, 6, or a 7, 8, 9. Let's just say it's a 7, 8, 9.
So here's a controversial question. When you color entropic lines, low is blue and high is orange. I assume no one's going to argue with that. What color is middle on an entropic line?
The point is that therefore neither of these cells now can be a 7, 8, 9 entropy digit. But if we look at those
Green
3 cells,
says run. That's a good choice.
That's a run of 3 digits along the entropy line. There must be a 7,
Yellow
8,
I
9
use a
in
lot,
that threesome.
yeah.
That must therefore be there. So you get a repetition every time. For every set of 3 cells, this digit will then repeat again. Now, what does that mean? Well, what that means is if we were to shade this top line, those 2 would have the same entropy, those 2 would have the same entropy, and this one would have different entropy. There's that. So imagine we're thinking about the digits, the middly digits in row 1, 4s, 5s, and 6s. Imagine they were purple. Well, then there would be 2 of them. Well, they can't be. That's impossible. There would now be 4 instances of the digits 4, 5, and 6. And there are only 3 of those in row 1. Can't do it. Same with green. Can't do it. So that digit has to be 4, 5, or 6, but we know it's not 5 because of the X-wing. So that is 4 or 6. But that logic applies equally well in row 9, doesn't it?
I sort of thought this break-in was going to make this land at 4 stars on LMD, but spoiler, this landed at 3 stars on LMD, which sort of means that probably in some sense, I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Other than I think it means Simon probably should stop describing 3-star puzzles on LMD as intrinsically approachable, because I definitely would not describe this break-in as approachable. I would describe it as incredibly cool. Like, I'm incredibly happy with this break-in. I think it's very cool, but this is probably not the new Sudoku player friendliest break-in.
So that is 4 or 6, and that is a very, very pretty way of getting a 4-6 pair in column 5. Now we're going to have a look at the black dot. It's very smooth, this, because the black dot, there are some secrets about black dots. Didn't think we were going to talk about those, but we are. First secret of black dots: because you need one digit on the dot to be double the other, there are some Sudoku digits you just can't use. 5s, 7s, and 9s. Why are 5s, 7s, and 9s difficult? Well, because 5, if you halve it, you get 2.5. That's not an integer. If you double it, you get 10. That's not a Sudoku number. The same is true of 7, 3.5, and 14. The same is true of 9, 4.5, and 18. They just don't work. So the pairings you can put on black dots that are valid are a 1-2 pair,
approachable for experts,
a 3-6 pair, and a 4-8 pair. Now, a 4-6 pair in the column actually rules out all of those except for a 1-2 pair.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the case, is that now approachable means up to 2 stars, and I think it did genuinely used to mean up to 3 stars, but I think now 3 stars is just not really reasonably approachable anymore. That would be sort of my setting. I think it's just sort of a natural grade inflation over time sort of effect.
Okay.
And they said it unironically,
now
Playmaker.
I can see 2 things we could do here, but I'm going to take the parity. I'm going to use parity first. Let's look at the white dot. Now, I only know one secret about white dots, and it's truly fatuous, but I'm going to share it with you. A white dot contains a consecutive pair of digits. Now, a consecutive pair of digits is always going to include one even number and one odd number. And again, I appreciate many times in this video so far I've said things that are totally obvious if you think about them. But why is that interesting in this column? Well, there are only 4 even Sudoku digits: 2, 4, 6, and 8. On this white dot, I can't put 2, I can't put 4 or 6. So there is definitely an 8 on there with a 7 or a 9 to be consecutive with it. So that feels like it's deliberate. So these are definitely odd digits, and they're not 1. So they're 3, 5, 7, or 9. Yeah, this is good. Right, okay. Now, look at the parity line. It's a beautiful idea.
I don't think multiple constraint puzzles are intrinsically harder than single constraint puzzles. In fact, I'd guess that overall the tendency is for the opposite to be true. I think multi-constraint puzzles are usually easier because setters are usually reluctant to repeat the same logic in a puzzle. And so if you if you do a multivariant puzzle, you can not repeat any logic and still keep to easy stuff. Whereas if you do a single variant puzzle as a 9x9, you almost have to make it get harder or have some harder deductions in there that you can't avoid otherwise. So I think probably multivariant puzzles are usually easier once you sort of set aside the complexity for someone who's not familiar with the variants at all. But if you ignore that part, I think generally they're easier.
This puzzle, isn't it? It's so smooth. This parity line has to oscillate polarity. Parity, sorry. I've just proved this is odd. So that is odd, and that is odd. I'll just put all the odd numbers in, and then we can see if we can whittle them down. No. No, it seems. Is that really the answer?
Yeah, I do think this is a somewhat unfortunate result of this parity line ending up here, as it does look like this is telegraphing that you're supposed to think about the parity line, which you're not really supposed to think about the parity line. But it's a sort of natural place. But it sort of like did not, when setting it, that was like one of the last clues added, and we were trying to make it so this Dutch whisper and this line had some sort of symmetry to them to not ruin the rest of the aesthetic of the puzzle. And so I was really happy with how this ended up looking. But yeah, I can see Simon getting baited by sort of chasing this line now that he's pencil marked it.
Okay, no, I don't think I can. All right, so these must be even. Let's put those in and see if we can... I can whittle that one down. That's got a 2 in its box. Oh, all right, so that's not actually gone quite as well as I was hoping. All right, let's do the Dutch whisper then, because we have got, look, a very low digit. Now, Dutch whispers they have an awkward secret about them.
Now, I do think it is somewhat natural that the 10 line is going to be like one of the last things you're going to look at, because this is the most useless looking 10 line that has ever graced the face of this earth. Probably not quite, but it does not look appealing, even though it is the correct thing to put together with everything that we've got here. But I mean, I think that sometimes that's sort of fun as long as nothing else is too distracting.
They are difficult creatures, Dutch whispers. This beautiful oscillation of polarity that we found along German whispers, and the fact we couldn't put 5 on them, that doesn't exist on a Dutch whisper line. You can put 5 on them, because a digit 4 away from 5 could be a 1 or a 9, and you can even therefore put 5 in the middle of the line and thereby change the way it oscillates. But what is true is that this is a relatively high digit. It's at least a 5. I mean, do I do that? Can I prove that's not 5 and at least make it... I mean, I've got those two. They've got 5 digits in them.
Makes a lot of sense,
I don't
David.
like putting 5 digits in a cell if I can possibly avoid it. And then the fact this could be 5 means this could be 1 again. So it could go...
Yeah, the thing he didn't do that I was sort of hoping would help people get there is to notice when you have this 1-2 pair that it corner marks a 3 along this line. And so you can sort of naturally think, so when I get here, I've sort of bizarrely corner marked the other 7-9 onto this line in a sort of repeat of the logic up here. I, of course, originally tried just to make the next deduction follow from a corner marked 3 in one of these two cells, but I could not find for the life of me a deduction that followed in any interesting way from a corner marked 3 in one of those two cells at that point. Which is why I eventually got to this 10 line being the reward for corner marking the 7-9 down there.
1-5-1.
That was during, over a period of, 90 minutes while my students were setting puzzles and asking questions, and I was occasionally test solving them. I was just staring at this in the background and thinking, what could I do to sort of, add after I had the 2 German whispers, the 2 entropic lines, and the 2 dots.
I'm sorry. Okay, I can't actually see how to do that then. Okay. All right, here's a different point, because I can't see how to do anything with that one. Any run of 3 digits on an entropic line needs to have a low digit.
Here comes the 3.
Now, what low digit are we going to put in one of those? This is middly, so one of these has to be a low digit, and it can't be a 1 or a 2, so one of those must be a 3. And that seems to also do nothing. Okay, yeah, sorry, I don't see how to do that. It's not quite as good in box 8. One of those does have to be a high digit. So one of these is, it can't be 8, I suppose, but one of those is a 7 or a 9.
I was when I started setting this on stream, if you go back. I was about ready to jettison this 10 line because some of the arithmetic with it gets a little bit gritty, but chat convinced me that that the step was cool enough and that there were enough different ways to think about the math with it that it actually was less gritty than I was thinking it was. So chat saved this 10 line for sure. It was definitely on the chopping block when I started this sort of midway through on stream.
Which is Well, what that is going to do is it's going to make the tens line constrained.
He has triggered his spidey sense.
Actually, that's very clever. Not of me, but that's very clever of zetamath and friends. Right. I don't know what this is doing, but it's doing something interesting, because well, yeah, it's doing something very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's just concentrate on a domino just for a moment along this tens line at the bottom. So this
Yay,
thing or
friends!
this thing.
I do greatly appreciate the
And
friends.
consider whether or not it's possible to make a domino on the bottom of the Stonehenge, which sums to 10, either this domino or this domino. And the answer actually is no now, because pairs that sum to 10, 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6.
It's funny that this is the second puzzle I've set where a step early in involves a weird 4-6 pencil mark breaking the ability of a 10 line to be 2 cells. Ladder also, if you look back at, I think ladder is like 2 or 3 cracking the cryptic features ago for me. But that has a similar, although I convinced myself logically distinct enough that I didn't feel like people would be bored by this one, but a similar weird trick with 4s and 6s and breaking a 10 line, having a 2-cell 10 sum.
4, 6 is ruled out by this rather beautiful 4, 6 pencil mark on the entropy line. So we can't do 4, 6. And I know that the other high digits, the 7, the 8, and the 9, are hypothecated to those 4 cells. I don't know where they go. I don't know where the one that's 7 and 9 is on this entropy line. I just know it's in one of them. So we can't do a 3, 7, 2, 8, or 1, 9 pair here. Now what that means is that the length of the 10 sum that begins in this cell is at least 3 cells. And the length of the 10 sum that begins in this cell is also at least 3 cells. But that's really cool.
Simon has brought out the condiments.
No, I know I'm not a cool man. It has been drummed into me over the years. But it is cool, logically, because now, is it possible both of these
Mid-villain
are 3
monologue,
cells?
Simon?
No, because this can't be a 10 on its own. So one of these, either yellow or red, has to spill over and collect within it this one. Which means the way this line breaks is into a...
Yeah, Simon really, really quickly, as soon as he thought about what this was doing, got here, which is impressive that he noticed the what was happening with this line.
It breaks into a 4-cell 10 sum and a 3-cell 10 sum. But the rather lovely thing is, let's look at the minimum sum of one of these Stonehenge legs. I mean, we could make them 1, 2, and 3 minimum, couldn't we? That sums to 6. So this digit cannot be as big as 5, because whether it's being added to a 1, 2, 3 in yellow as a minimum, or a 1, 2, 3 in red as a minimum, it would break the 10 barrier. It would be too high to be a 4-minute mile, wouldn't it? So that's what we need to do, therefore, is to make this a 3, and therefore we know that actually it's not a 1, 2, 3 triple that we're looking for here. It's going to be a 1, 2, 4 triple, adding up to 7. There's only one way of making 7 in 3 different Sudoku digits, and that is 1, 2, and 4. Now, I don't know which way round this goes. There probably is a way.
Now we
to
learned
tell,
what it
isn't
was
there?
that made Zetamath put a Dutch whisper in the puzzle.
It would be very difficult. It would be
Simon never corner marked 5 in column 5 into one of these 2 cells, which I worry might make this step fussier than at least I hoped it was.
Very difficult. I bet there's a reason it can't go here because of the Dutch whisper. I can't see what that is, but I just feel...
Because my intention was, hey, there's a 5 in one of these two corner marked from earlier, and now if this was 1, 2, 4, or 3, then that would make these digits from 6, 7, 8, 9, which exactly breaks a two-cell Dutch whisper. So this started as a two-cell Dutch whisper. It is nice that these lines are both extensible. In fact, every line except the 10 line you can sort of always extend.
I feel like that's probably the case.
Corner marks are hard to notice.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, golly gosh. This is my favourite part of the puzzle. I really liked getting that 4-6 pair. That's beautiful. But the way that the fact one of those is high interacts with the possibility of domino 10 sums is absolutely gorgeous. It really is. Now, and this has a profound effect now, because let's just consider whether this could be the 1, 2, 4 triple, i.e. it's being added to the 3 to make a 4-cell 10 sum. It can't work, but it's a bit difficult. Well, it's not easy to see. The reason it's going to fail is here.
Are we going to say there's a 5 corner mark?
I tell you what, it is totally legitimate to remove the 3 from these cells and that one, in fact.
Totally legitimate is a hilarious way to describe I can remove 3 from 2 digits that are in the same box and column as a 3. I mean, I'm not claiming it's inaccurate. It's just hilarious.
3. Okay, and that makes it a bit clearer. I want to look at this domino now, and I want to think about how it's going to be constituted on a Dutch Whispers line.
So Simon is going to get around this. Simon is just never going to comment on the 5 in column 5, because now this would have to be 5, 9, and that would create a 5, 7, 9 quadruple.
Cannot have a 1, 2, 3, or a 4 in it. Now that would be curtains if this was a German Whispers line, because we know every domino must contain a digit that's lower than 5.
I think J is the Simon Whisperer here. I think J exactly got what he was implying.
You can get away with a 5.
I did not get that.
If you pair it with a 9. But look at these cells now. There's only 3 different digits we could put into 4 different cells. It's not going to work. And there's nothing else you can partner the 5 with that's going to help you with that problem. So this side is not 1, 2, 4. So this side is 1, 2, 4, and that is yellow, therefore.
And we're now approximately at the point where we started on stream, because I had thought of like this 2-cell Dutch Whisper. I guess I had this prong, but then the real thing was figuring out like how on earth do we add clues in such a way that it doesn't become visually horrible, and that it sort of continues the logic in a nice way. And I wasn't quite sure about this. So yeah, so now we're into the and friends full part of this, because some of this, like the idea of these sort of like, instead of directly mirroring each other, having this sort of upside down symmetry, this, like, Emma had this idea and it worked out, I think, beautifully.
To 10. I was going to say without using 3, but that might be wrong. I don't know. I can't work that out. But we've definitely got a 1, 2, 4 triple here. So this is not 2 or 4. This is not 1. That's not 4. I've got a 6, 8 pair in the column now.
I've got a 5, 7, 9 triple.
I've got a 5, 7, 9 triple in the box. Now. So this digit...
Exactly, David. Yeah, I talk a lot about how dangerous the human love of symmetry is in puzzle setting, because you end up with this thing where you have something that's symmetric so far and you really don't want to break the symmetry, but you kind of have to, and there's a few ways around that. But this upside down part is a trick I don't think I've used before. but that I will definitely try and add to my toolkit because it's a really nice way to get something that is visually very pleasingly symmetrical, but logically is just like completely unsymmetrical.
Is that low? Yeah, it's low, isn't it? Actually, sorry. Yeah, this is pretty obvious. This is a great big old digit. The lowest this can be is 5.
Yeah, that's
So
one of the nice things about
the question
159
is,
puzzles, isn't it, David? The note of the grid is symmetric, but due to some sort of like weird extra constraint, it's not actually. Yeah, like 159s you can do that with. Yeah, there's a few others.
if this was 5, that would just allow this to be a 9, but that's been ruled out now by this 579 triple. So if this is 5, actually this digit would still be a 1, 2, 3, or well, it would be a 1 in that particular instance. But that means that this digit is always low. It's actually not 3 because of this. So it's 1, 2, or 4 to be at least 4 different from this digit. 9 could have gone with 5 as well, but that's ruled out. I'm so bad, Dutch Whispers. But now, this digit...
If it's any comfort to Simon, I'm also
5,
very bad with Dutch
therefore
Whispers.
has to be a high digit, so that's got to be a 6 or an 8, which is...
The reason I went with it is, again, just purely because of the fact that we knew exactly that these two were max 3 apart. And so if this were sort of flip-flopped, so the Dutch Whisper, the 2-cell Dutch Whisper was exactly what was necessary to make this happen.
The same as this digit. Because it
can't
be 5,
3-star puzzle, totally
so
3-star puzzle.
Is 1, 2, or 4 as well. I've got sort of a 1, 2, 4 triple in the box, a 579 triple and a 6, 8 pair. And then let's just continue to work our way down the Dutch Whispers line. Yeah, okay, so this digit again has to be low. It can't be as high as 5. It will not work. It could be 4 if this is a 4-8 pair. And then if we go up the ski lift here, we can sort of go up the T-bar.
Everyone is bad at Dutch Whispers.
We have to go...
True. I think that is I think that is the whole point of Dutch Whispers. Dutch Whispers and Skyscraper are both in that category of like, I don't think anyone is not bad at them in some way or another. This is what this little doohickey here is doing, by the way, is sort of setting up to now sort of do some of the coloring, but I think Simon's going to see that after he deals with this.
That could be a 5, probably.
3 and 6 aren't 4 apart. That is definitely a step that I have. If you go back and watch Rankskin and I did a pair doku by Paul Fly that involved Dutch Whispers, and there is some step very much like that that probably hung us up for, I don't know, 45 minutes or something.
That's another dreadful.
I felt really bad about not seeing it, and then it turned out that Ranks had an almost identical thing that he did not see in his grid.
I suspect it's this red thing that we're going to have to look at. But let's dispatch with yellow. We don't need yellow now.
Yeah, the math of the red thing was the part of the 10 line I did not like. And chat convinced me that there were very smart things to say, like there's definitely a 5 in here that make the math less horrible. But I had sort of been thinking about it, and I was like, this might be a little gritty for a zetamath puzzle. But there are nice ways to think about it. We'll see if Simon finds the nice ways. Simon usually finds even the nice ways I did not find when I'm making the puzzle. Like very often, like whatever step I thought was a little messy in my puzzle, Simon will show me a way to do that seems so much smarter than whatever I thought about.
Well, we don't need that grey. In fact, no, that's grey on grey. I'm not going to make that. I'll leave this as red. And, I'm trying to see what to do. I'm failing, aren't I? Wow, I don't see what to do at all. Do I know what this is? I know it's 3 digits, summing to 10, but you can do that without a 1 if it's 235. I can't see why that's in. I mean, it would be tricky for it to be 235. This would have to be 2. This would have to be a 3-5 pair. That would make this a 3, apparently. But that doesn't look impossible. Or it could be a 1. If this is a 1...
That it definitely does run.
Right. I'm going to ask a totally different question. I've put a middly digit on this entropy line. So neither of those are
there
middly.
We go. So Simon heard you, Ron.
Now, I could have 1 middly here, but I must have 1 middly here. And that middly is going to have to be 5, isn't it? I've not put 5 in this box. So there's definitely a 5 there. I'm not saying there isn't a 4, actually. It could be 5, 4, 1. If 5, 4, this was a 1, 2 pair. Yeah, that might work. But there is a 5. Right, which means this is not a 5.
This whisper piece gives you a corner marked 4 on these 2 cells, which I tried to use in some way, but spoiler, I did not ever find a clever way to use it.
5. Oh, bobbins, I don't know. Okay. But that has helped, hasn't it? Because now what we should do... What we can't do on red is to add a 6. So in terms of middly digits and box 8, you can't put 6 on the line now. You can't... I mean, 6 has to go in with those 3 cells, but it's a middly digit, so it must go in the middle. So that's 6, that's 4. Now, that presumably is going to...
I remember when I was setting this being heartbroken that doing this disambiguation somehow doesn't disambiguate anything.
Thing with the corners.
Like, Simon has never commented on it, but you could use this 4-6 pair here in this column to note that these German whispers have opposite high-low colorings. It just hasn't been at all useful at this point, so there's no real reason for him to do it. But this still doesn't settle which of them is which is like something that hurt me deeply when I realized it.
The weird thing is it could still be either way round, actually. So I still
row 6 is what settles it, Battleforge.
Ah. Oh, I know that's high, which does... So that's high, that's high. So that must be... Yeah, okay. The way to do this is to look at row 6. Now, this is a bit subtle, but look at this domino. Now, what did we say about German whispers lines? We are having to avail ourselves of all the secrets. We said
I guess I just have this undying love of virtual quadruples that makes this not feel particularly subtle to me. Like, there are lots of steps to this that I would describe as subtle, but this is not one of them. But maybe this is just my own bias of this. I guess I don't think it's easy to see necessarily. But I guess to me, once you say something is subtle, what you mean is it's difficult to articulate even once you see it, because it involves finesse or something.
Didn't we? So in a domino on a German whispers line, 1 digit will be lower than 5, 1 digit will be higher than 5. Now, I don't know. I will be able to work it out, but I know. So one of these digits is a 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
so it's a 1, 2, or a 4.
Very hidden. I mean, I like that aesthetically. It's just like one little poke out from this German whisper makes it look very innocuous, and then it's like, oh yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, maybe it's just Simon thinking of the word subtle in a different way than I think of the word subtle in that context.
Which means in this row, we've had all our low digits. If we look at that domino, that cell, and that cell, and that cell, obviously, there are no more low digits to go. So this digit must be a high digit. Now, we can see it can't be 6, so it's 7, 8 or 9, but that's going to give us, we now know it's these ones on this line that are the high digits because we oscillate. So these ones are 6, 7, 8 or 9. That can't be 6 because it's in the middle of the line. But now, this can't be a 6 at the top. We've got our 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple on the line. So that's got to be 5. That's got to be 6. We complete the X-wing and we write 4 in here.
I do like how the first digit you get in this puzzle is this 3.
Now, right, so let's just keep using that logic. So now we can oscillate. We know these digits are 1, 2, and 3 in this column. This digit is high. We know in this column that there is a 6. And I don't know where it is, but it's either at the top or the bottom.
So the intended deduction is that this cell is a naked single. I'm a little concerned about how long we might take to see that. It's slightly sneaky, but I think it's really pretty. So this, I think this was also Emma. I think this was part of why Emma argued for this sort of square of these things, suggesting that, hey, this 6-8 pair actually looks at this cell, which we know is high, but can't be 6 or 8 and can't be 9 because we know where the 9 is in the column roughly. And so that like breaks everything in half.
Bottom. And it's going to have a 1 next to it because 1 is the only digit that can go next to 6 on the line. So this central digit is not a 1. And for the same... Yeah, for the same reason, this is a weird point. That can't be a 6. Because if that was a 6, this would be a 1. But we know that the 1 in the column is next to the 6. So this
I
would
really
be
like
6
this
as well.
specific
So
elimination.
we get 2 sixes
that
in the
can't be a
box.
6.
That is very peculiar.
I don't think it's really useful, but I really liked it, and I hoped it would be useful.
Okay, but I'm sure. Well, we can now do the same thing in column 1, because we now know that the 4 digits that are in these positions in column 1 are in fact now the low digits, because they couldn't be 6, 7, 8, and 9 because the 6 is already here. So these digits are 7, 8, and 9. We can't put 4 in the middle of the line because it would be surrounded by double 9. We know 4 is at the end of the line, so it's going to have a 9 on the inside of it. So this central digit is not a 9. Oh, it's so... Well, no, that's good. Okay, that is a 6-8 pair.
Okay, good.
So
we saw that, okay.
Right, so that's a 7. 7 can never go next to 3 on a whispers line. Don't worry. If you're saying, how does he
see that relatively quickly? The only reason is I've done a lot of these puzzles before.
That was
oh, right, sorry. I just had to take a call, and that has...
If you play the video very
long
slowly,
call.
can you hear the whole call?
I've just been sitting here, and hopefully my brain has now solved the entire puzzle by some sort of osmosis. What on earth were we doing? We were putting in 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s in column 1. Why were we... Oh, because we got a 1-2 pair. Yeah, okay. That can't be 1 or 2 either. at least if you get interrupted, it's very good if you can just do things when you come back. I can pencil mark that cell as well. Is that worth it? If that's 3 or 4, that can't be... actually, that can't be... What if that was 3 and it was a 4 difference? That could be a 7, I think. That can't be 5 or 6. So that is good. Well,
The old 5,
actually,
7, 8, 9
no,
quadruple
there's
in
something
the row.
Sudoku going on here. That can't be 6 either. But this can't be 7 because of this 7. That can't be 7. There's a 7 in this 5, 7, 9 triple. So there's got to be a 7 in one of those. So that's not a 7. Now I've got an 8-9 pair in row 4. Oh, this is good
3 and
news, to be
6
honest,
still
for
not
me,
4
because
apart.
I hate getting interrupted because I can never recollect what I was doing. But actually, it appears we got interrupted at a place where I could sort of see what was going on. Yeah,
Yeah, at
sorry.
least he got
This is 3 or
interrupted at the
4.
right
So
time, I think.
that can't be 6, can it? If that's 6, again, it would be too close to that digit, even on Dutch Whisper. So that's got to be 8. That's got to be 6. That's got to be 8. That's got to be 9. That's got to be 8. I've got an 8 pencil mark there, so we can do an 8 there. That's not an 8. Got a 7-9 pair in row 7. Yeah, and this can't be 4 now, because let's go back to German Whispers rules. If this was 4, 4 and 8 are only 4 apart. So that's got to be 3. That's got to be 4. That's not 9 anymore. Right, that might do something. If this is 6 or 7, that can't be 4. So this is 1 or 2. This is 5, 7. This is not 8, because we've got an 8-9 pair in the row.
Yeah,
What have we
this
got
7-9
actually in this row?
being a
We've got
7
loads
would
of
be
real
maybe
estate.
helpful.
That can't be
That's
2.
the kind of thing that I
There's
think
a 1,
getting
2
interrupted
pair.
has made him miss.
So it's 3, 4, 6 into this row. 3, 4, 6. Let's just quickly pencil mark it. Now, what about that one? No. What about that one? No. Where's 4? In oh, good. Okay, no, that's a relief. I was about to say, has that been available for like a month? But no, I think it's only emerged since I got this 4 here. So I don't. That's good. So that gets me a 6 here. So I don't feel too. I've got a 3, 4 pair now here.
That's why this line
Is
bends
that
like
somehow
this.
stopping this from being? Well, it stops it from being a 3, but it could still be a 1 or a 2, couldn't it? And then that would have to be a low digit, which would have to be a 3. I don't know. That might be fine. Where is 5 in box 2 is a very interesting, sensible question. That's been available, I think. I think that's been available since before I got my phone call, because I've got.
Do we think he's
5
going to
pencil
notice the
marked
wing on
down
the 10
here
line, Playmaker?
on this red thing. How did we know
I'm
that
not
had a
quite-
5 on it back in
I
the day?
think so what Playmaker's referring to is the fact that if you sort of count 4s, there's 2 total 4s on this 10 line, because the 4 in box 5 and the 4 in box 8 are both on the 10 line. But I'm a little concerned, given he got interrupted, that he's going to have to work that out in a way that is worse than noticing that it has 2 4s on it, and hence that side over there has to be 1 4 5. He might, but I think if he hadn't got interrupted, he definitely would have seen it. I think getting interrupted is going to require sort of going back in time in a way that at least I would find very difficult.
What was the logic there?
Maybe this will get him there.
See. Oh, is it just where's 5 in this box? Is it? That's probably what it was. Okay, so there is a 5, and then there's 2 more digits that add up to 5. So surely I can do that. Hang on. There's a virtual 1-2 pair in this column now, because 3. That was a weird. I hope that's not just broken the recording. There was a weird flashing on my computer.
Doesn't seem like it broke the recording.
Is everything all right? I hope it's okay.
I hate it when that kind of thing happens. This sort of thing happens to me all the time when I'm streaming.
But
like, am I still here?
This
Hello?
3-cell sequence must include a 1 or a 2, mustn't it? Because if it didn't, how could it add up to 10? It would be a minimum of 3 plus 4 plus 5. That's 12. That's too many. So there's definitely a 1 or a 2.
The very rare moment where the intended step in the Zeta puzzle was not a virtual 1-2 pair. But finding a virtual 1-2 pair is a very good skill to employ in zetamath puzzles.
In this sequence, there can't be a 1 and a 2. Well, in fact, because there's 5 in the sequence, it's either 5, 1, 4 or 5, 2, 3. So there's definitely a 1 or a 2, which means these 4 digits contain the 1 and the 2 in column 4.
Are we building an X-Wing on 3s? I think we're building an X-Wing on 3s. Yeah, that's what he's doing. That's very cute. Because I think what he's doing here is noting that the low digit up here he's already marked as a 3, and the low digit down here also has to be a 3 because of a combination of this 1, 2, 4 and this virtual 1, 2 pair. I mean, it'll get him there.
It must be something to do with the... Can you have low... Yeah, okay. It's to do with 3s, I think. Because what we can't do now... Is there actually a 3 X-Wing? Is that the point? This might not be true. But I feel like it is. Yeah. Okay, right. The way to explain... I think there might be other ways to explain this, but here's a way to explain it. In this column... Oh, in fact, I know what that digit is. That's an exciting thing. But that wasn't what I was noticing about this column. In this column, these 2 digits here can't both be low. It's impossible.
Chat did that during setting.
Fact,
I don't think I noticed. Maybe I didn't understand the point.
3 and
that's
9.
That's not uncommon.
Right. That's perfect. That's all we needed. So one of these is definitely high. One of them is definitely low. I don't know which way round they go, but on the one that has a 9, in either this position or this position, what digit are we going to put on the entropic line that's in its box? So if this was 9, what would this digit be? It's got to be low entropy.
You know, this explanation is growing on me. Maybe I want to revert and claim that this is the intended step, that you do this with a weird virtual 1-2 pair and a column via... like connection via column 6.
But it's not allowed to be 1 or 2 because of these cells. So it is a 3. So if this is 9, this is 3. If this is 9, this is 3. And the beautiful thing about that, this is a weird and beautiful point, is that red now, because there is a 3 here or here in column 4, this line is not 2, 3, 5. It's impossible. So this is 5, 1, 4, and that is not a 2. So this is 1, 4, 1, 4, 5.
Yeah, that is a beautiful
piece of logic, actually.
That's not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be when I was sort of imagining how that was going to go. I think that actually is pretty reasonable.
Data and friends. So this is now a 2. I wanted to make that a 1. I don't know why. That's absolute nonsense, isn't it? Although that is a 1 and that is a 2. So now I've got a 1, 4 pair in row 6.
It does buy you an 8, 9 pair.
I've got a 9 there, so this is a 7. I've got a 9 there, so this is not a 9. Right, in box 8, 1, 2, 4, and 5. Where are 3 and 9? Let's just ask that question. They have to be on the line. So they're in those positions. And 9 is on the Nabna, which means 8. Oh, 8 can't be on the Nabna anyway. Oh, bother. So this Nabna.
Yeah, so if you were not here for the setting extravaganza, this Nabner is not actually necessary. And indeed, I think it basically is prevented from ever doing anything. However, it's so inoffensive that I included it for symmetry, although in a different day I might have not included it and just included this one. who knows? But like, I don't know that it would have looked that bad with just this one, but this just makes it look nicer, I think.
Secrets to us
But
yet.
this
But
nabner
that
does
digit
aggressively nothing.
can't be 6 because it's got to be 5 different from 2. It can't be 7, so that is an 8 or a 9. So now I've got an 8-9 pair here. That is not a 9, and that places my 9 on the nabner. Now, what else do we need in this box, though? No, 5 and 6. So that's 6. That's 5.
More
Which
5s
means
happening.
5 is in one of these 2 cells in row 6. Okay. Well, okay, so, what do we do next, do you think?
I do have an odd habit of getting Simon to pencil mark 5 digits in cells. Especially when it's a puzzle that's a zetamath and friends puzzle, because those tend to be slightly more Sudoku-ier, because people will show me Sudoku deductions that I might not have noticed, because I tend not to set heavily with Sudoku deductions. And so I think that we definitely end up causing this to Simon as a group quite a bit.
That is the question. I don't know. 1 is in one of those 2 cells in row 5.
Yeah, doing it with Chad has definitely taught me to appreciate some sorts of Sudoku deductions that are of sorts that I have not sort of previously tended to look for.
There must be some way I know the ordering of... I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. Oh, okay, where's 5 in row 3? That is a legitimate question. That seems to be placed. That's probably not going to be the most brilliant thing ever, though, is it? So in this row, I do need 1s, 2s, 3s, 6s, and 7s. 1, 2, 3, and 7 into there. So, okay, yeah, that's a weird point, but 6 is placed in row 3. It's got to be there. That doesn't put... No, it doesn't put any pressure on anything, does it? So what have I got to put into box 2? 3, 7, and 9.
Sounds
oh dear.
Right.
I've got a bad feeling that's not going to be resolved.
Well, you at least know the
I
lower one
definitely
is
know
into
there's
3.
a 7 up there for what that's worth, but it's probably not very much. 8 is nearly restricted, in box 1, but it's got to be in one of 2 places. Wow. Okay, no, I'm still stuck. Let's try. No, what I was about to say is not true, so I refuse to say it. Do not enunciate silly thoughts, Simon. They will not avail you. I've got no clue.
I think if I were doing this, I would at this point just pencil mark every cell that is on a clue that I have not yet pencil marked.
If it was 4, it would be 4 apart. No, that's fine, isn't it? Can that be under any pressure? I think that's okay. The thing about zetamath puzzles as well is that when you do get stuck, it's your fault, as in my fault, because it's never normally overly brutal. It's always fair. You just have to have the right thought. And when you have the right thought, you go, oh, yeah, that was my fault. I didn't have that thought.
I like that. I have become more and more resistant to pencil marking over time as well.
That's not a good question. Oh, it's nearly a good question. Where's 7 in box 7 was my question. But actually, I think it's got quite a lot of places it could go. What about the bottom row? What do we need? 1s, 2s, 7s, and 8s. So, is there any point pencil marking them? The thing is, I've got nothing in the columns that looks... Well, I suppose I've got an 8 in that one. So that can't be 8. So that digit there is 1, 2, or 7. And that is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. I have got, okay, let's maybe look at column 3 then, where also I've got 1. That's a 1 or a 2. Is that the sort of point that we're looking for? Because that sees 7 and 8 in the row, so that is 1 or 2 only.
There we go.
Oh, it's so close to being good.
We've got a 1-2 pair in the row if we see that this cell can't
that is
actually
so
be a 3.
Close to being good. But I don't think it is it? I don't think it's quite enough. I definitely know there's a 2 in there, but if I knew it was this one, I'd have a lovely 1, 2, 3 triple in row 7. Bobbins. Okay. It's not 6. Oh, I have got loads of 6s in the grid, you know.
That's definitely why, Ron, but I'd say I don't just do that in Invitation to Puzzles. I generally try to do that in all of my solving, because I enjoy it most when things are clean and logic focused. Because sort of you can talk yourself out of a lot of fun steps of puzzles by sort of center marking and using a killer cage calculator or whatever, and not see the sort of intended nice step.
I've got far more 6s than I had any right to.
Of course,
So
sometimes there
6s in
isn't
one
an
of
intended
those
nice
2.
step.
Does that
But,
affect
what
the
can you do?
Nabna? If it was on the Nabna, this couldn't be 7. That would be a 1, 2 pair in the box. But if it's there, then do we care very much? 4. Oh. Okay. Well, that's quite good.
We've made our own virtual
do
4-6
anything,
pair.
But 4 and 6 are in the same cells of box 7. So this is a 1, 2, or a 7. I only have to get it slightly more reduced, and we're in business. So 7 is definitely in one of these 2 cells.
Yeah, we now just
Can we do any
waiting for
trickery
him
with
to notice this
Nabnerisms?
8.
Only
Now he's going to have center mark so much that he's going to notice this can't be 8, and then mark that this can't be 3, and then the whole puzzle is going to fill itself in.
This is a 7. Do we get a restriction? Then that has to be 4. But in the row, we know 8 is now over here, which we've known forever. I just didn't pencil mark it. So if that's 8, that's 9. That's 3. This is 1 or 2. Is there a reason this can't be 7, 8, do you think? It appears I don't think clearly enough to rule that out. What about... No, that's a bad question again. Naughty bad questions. Oh dear. Okay. 4? No,
He does have 2 different marks now to see that it's 7 and 8.
Every time I think I've spotted something, it just...
And it's one of those things where, like, it doesn't look like it would be helpful, except it totally is helpful and resolves everything. But I don't blame him for not, like, re-scanning these. I mean, this is part of why I solve with with conflict checker 1, is so that I don't end up in these moments quite as often. But yeah, I cannot blame him for not, like, immediately scanning. Because, I mean, he could scan all of these, and I think that's the only one, perhaps, that's missing a thing. But as it happens, it's a very relevant one.
Just all goes the wrong way. Okay. Is it going to be... All right, it's probably a line.
That is a good instinct.
Or it could even be Yes, it could even be a pencil mark. I'm now noticing that this has become... Yeah, in fact, that's it. That's bizarre. Wow. Okay, so at some point I got an 8 here, which took 8 out of this cell, reducing it to 6 or 7. And the point is now this can't be 3. It would be too close to it. And ordinarily, that tiny adjustment wouldn't matter terribly much. But look at row 7 now. I've now got a 1-2 pair. So that's 4, and that's 1, and that's 4. So this is 2. It is a fantastic puzzle, this. Now, oh yeah, now I got 4 on the Nabna. I wanted the 6 on it. Okay, but now this is 5 and this is 1. So we've done this red section now, and we should be able to get that digit. That's a 3. I've not put 3 in the row. And no, quickly in this puzzle we established there were no 3s in the corner, didn't we? Now, oh no, that doesn't do it. I thought that was going to disambiguate the 8 and 9, but no. Okay, but we're still better. We're doing better than we were a moment ago, and for that I am grateful. Now, what about these cells? 5, 6. There are 5, 6, 7 triple. Oh, now that is good, because how could you put 6 on this Nabna? You'd be accompanying it with 5 or 7.
Yeah, he did immediately as soon as he noticed that it was the thing he was missing.
Non-consecutive. So that's 5, 7. This is 6. Now that's going to do things on the whisper. 6 can only go next to 1 on the whisper, so we get a little bit of bonus thingies there. So that can't be 6 at the top now.
Be sure you don't make the 1, 7 something that's consecutive with a 4 or a 9.
2 and 8. I think so. How can this not be resolved? Is this done? No. Oh, 5 and 7 can't. So that's what does it. The bottom of this puzzle gets sorted by this, because when we make this not able to be 8 anymore, because it would be consecutive with 7 on the Nabna, make it 2, we get this being 8, and now that tells us by entropy that's 9, that's 3, so that's got to be 1, that's got to be 7, and the whole of the bottom row gets finished. Now that is no longer 7, which places 7 in row 3, places 7 and 5, that places 5 in this box as well.
If I were a different setter, I would definitely have made the title of the puzzle a reference to the
9.
Useless
Nabner.
That's
8, that's 9, that's 7 now. That can't go next to 3 on a German whisper. So now we get a little bit more. This is an 8. Is this giving up? Finally, is it giving up? Come on, give up. This is
the most involved 3-starred puzzle of the year so far.
1, 2, 3. I think it is. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So these squares have got to be 7 and 8. That looks good from a Sudoku perspective. I can't see how to... Oh, well, okay, but if that's 7 or 8, that's high entropy then. So that's got to be 9. That's 3. So this is 7. That does the 7 and the 8. This is now not 3. This has got to be low entropy, so it's 1 or 2. Seems to be able to be either. But in the row, we've not put 8 in, so I will enjoy doing that. This is a 3, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 1, 2, 2, 1, 3, and if we haven't made a ricket, 1 and 6. That is a brilliant puzzle. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's brilliant. I wish I hadn't got... Well, actually, I'm not so fussed I got interrupted, because when I came back, I could see something to do straight away that was pretty obvious.
I think the only thing the interruption probably hung him up on is I think he would have gotten this 10 lines interaction with the 4s a little faster.
What I thought was incredibly clever, there was all this stuff around this 10 line that was beautiful. Yeah, that was it, wasn't it? It was this being a 4 or a 6, and this dot forcing, and one of those being high, meaning both of those dominoes couldn't sustain a 10 sum and had to get longer, and then the pinching at the top forcing that to be something. And then there was that lovely point later where I was able to work out that sort of 1 and 2 had been hypothecated to these 4 cells in column 4, and yet one of these digits needed to be low entropy and would therefore be 3. And that was important. Yeah, that was important because it determined red. Yeah, that is quality. Is it correct? Yes, it is correct. Absolutely fantastic puzzle. Mosaic. Thank you very much to zetamath as always, and friends. Loved it. Brilliant, brilliant puzzle. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.
Thank you to Simon as always. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the step with the virtual pairs and the resolving the thing is like totally a step I would put in a puzzle on purpose. It's just in this particular instance, it was not actually the step that I had in mind, but and there was something I would argue simpler. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It sounds like Playmaker at least agrees that maybe this maybe 3-star puzzle is maybe ambitious for this, but hopefully at least well telegraphed. That's that at least I think counts for a lot, and sorts it lets you get away with a lot more in terms of deductions if someone knows where they're supposed to look. Which, aside from a little bit, I think with this parody line, I think this puzzle mostly tells you where you're supposed to look at each time. The parody line was a slight distraction, but anyway, thank you everyone for hanging out today. I'm gonna go have dinner shortly, but I hope everyone has a good day. I think probably the perfect puzzle for an expert beginner, though. Probably true. I should just use this as my intro puzzle for students to do on the first day of Sudoku class. I think this would be a great first puzzle for anyone to solve. All right, but thank you, everyone. I should warn you, by the way, if you're planning on it, I think I'm probably not going to have time to stream on Sunday because I have to grade like final stuff and get people feedback before the class is over. But I'll be back to streaming normally the following Sunday, and Tristan will be here Thursday. So there'll be plenty more content to come. And there will continue to be Invitation to Puzzles videos and Root Trees videos. So you should still see plenty of me for now. Oh, unless we're out of town, Tristan says, question mark. I don't know. Maybe I don't know anything about my own schedule. That's possible. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see everyone real soon. Bye for now.